everyone. I just wanted to go over quickly how economy helped shape the Greek civilization and what their economy looked like in ancient Greece. We do have our unit test next week, Friday, so I wanted to get this information out to you sooner than later to have a little bit of a review of the Greek economy. Okay, so first of all, economy is getting what you want with what you have. There are two different ways you can do this. You can either trade by using money, or you can barter, where you give something and get something. That something can be a good, like linen or food, or it can be a service, like I will send your messages for you on this boat, or I will make sure that work is done for you. Okay, so goods or services. In ancient Greece, they did start using a coin economy around 600 BC. The name of that coin was the drachma. They came in different colors and made out of different materials and had different values. Each city-state had their own currency as well. Not only did they trade using currency or using coins, but they also did barter and trade for services. So some of the different things that they looked at in the economy of ancient Greece, arts and crafts, or crafts was a big part of it. They made all of the things that they needed, and then they had to transport them. So the main way that they transported them was actually by boat, because the mountains were so hard to get over. Most importantly, they had a surplus of things. So this is what Greece was really good at making. They had a lot of it. Their climate was very good for growing olives and grapes and different berries and things like that. They made a lot of painting and sculptures and pottery, metalworks, and books. So they did a lot of that crafts. And these are the things that they would sell then to other city-states, or they would sell to other civilizations like the Phoenicians, like the Mesopotamians, like the people that were in the early areas of where Rome eventually becomes. The things that they did not have was linen, copper, and tin, so they could make bronze for their metalwork. And they needed people, so they actually did transport slaves in order to work in their fields and to help them with their different things. I don't agree with it, but it is something that happened. The geography of ancient Greece really did affect the trade. Because it was so difficult to get over the mountains, they actually traded by sea. They became expert shipbuilders and sailors, and they traveled farther than other civilizations because they were able to. They were so good at it. Now, they did have to be careful of pirates, just like they had to be careful of robbers if they were traveling over the mountains as well. The most important thing to know about every single Greek city-state, they had several things in common. They all shared the same religion. They all spoke Greek. They all had similar architecture. They all had an agora. The agora is a shopping center. So think of it as like an outdoor market or mall. But not just buying and selling happened here. It was also a meeting place, and it's where they would have political meetings and discussions. It's where they would vote on the different laws. So this is where the assembly would meet. So the assembly would meet in the Agora, and they would vote on the laws that the Council of 500 prepared. And they would have meetings about it and discussions, and then the vote. And then while they were there, they could also buy or sell their goods and services. So the Agora is something that was in every single Greek city-state. How did the Peloponnesian War affect the economy? So the one war that we're taking a look at is the Peloponnesian War. There were other conflicts that the ancient Greeks were involved in, but the Peloponnesian War was a civil war. And so it divided Greece into two groups. It was either the Delian League, which was Athens was in charge of, or the Peloponnesian League, which Sparta was in charge of. Ultimately, Sparta wins the war, and it takes over Greece and rules Greece pretty much under its control for over 30 years. Now, there are many different facts and things about the Peloponnesian League. The most important thing to know is that they fought for a while, and Sparta blockaded Athens. In other words, they surrounded Athens and said, haha, we will cut you off from all your food, and we will cut you off from everything else, and we will surround your city-state, and there's no place you can go. And Athens went, the sea, we're really good. We have a really good navy. So they just used their ships and they got whatever they needed. And so they were in this standstill. They fought for many years, and then they were in a standstill. And they said, okay, neither side is winning. We're just going to pause. And that pause was over 10 years that they just kind of had a peace that was going on. and no fighting. But then Athens got greedy and said, well, we'll just use our navy and we'll go get Sicily and we'll take over that city and that island, and then everything will be fine. And when the Athenian or Athens navy left to go to Sicily, the Sicilians actually defeated the Athenian navy, which was a giant upset. So it was like the total underdog won against the really, really, really big bully. And so Sparta took advantage of the fact that Athens lost its navy and then came in and took over the city state of Athens. And then that completely ended the Peloponnesian War. The effects and how it affected the economy is that with having a war that lasted nearly 30 years, I think the total set of fighting was about 27 years, it divided Greece and it cut off a lot of those supply chains. And so you were either with Athens or you were with Greece, or I'm sorry, you were with Sparta. There was no other choices. For having a war that lasted 30 years, lots and lots of people died. This meant that there was a whole generation that wasn't around in order to work in the field. So there was less crops that were being grown. Less crops means less food. Less food means more starvation or less people being born and a smaller population overall. So eventually what happened is the economy stopped growing. And then once it stopped growing, it started to fall apart. There was lots of starvation, unemployment, a lot of civil unrest, meaning a lot of people were unhappy with their governments. That led to more fighting. And so then there was lots of fighting in between city states and within city states. That so many of the city states were destroyed and things like that. There was no one left to rebuild them. And eventually what happened was Rome saw how weak Greece was, and they just came in and conquered the entire country. And there was very little resistance from the Greeks because they had no one left to fight in a major war, and they had no way to feed the soldiers and to arm the soldiers and things like that. So ultimately, the Peloponnesian War led to the fall of the Greek civilization. So that's a little bit about economy. So the big takeaways is that economy is getting what you want with what you have. When you have extra of something or a surplus, you trade it for what you lack, or you bring that in as an import. And then ultimately, the Peloponnesian War was a giant civil war that led to the ultimate end of the Greek civilization. So thanks for watching this review video a little bit about the Greek economy. And if you have any questions, please contact me and we'll talk more. Thanks. Bye-bye.